If you have a collection of gorgeous washi and PT tapes just waiting to be used, or maybe you've been wondering how to get started with them, you're in for a treat. Because today I'm using my newest tape haul and showing you how to turn these beautiful designs into stunning card creations. These tapes are the best when you want to create the quickest, easiest, and prettiest cards, sometimes in under 5 minutes, especially for those last minute ones that you needed yesterday. I'll share some of my best tips for working with these transparent, forgiving tapes so you can get perfect results every time. Let's dive in. So here's my newest haul of washi and PET tapes, and I want to start with a tip about why and how you can save the labels. And I like to stick the label with the name inside the roll for safekeeping and identification. All right, I've unpacked everything and I discovered that one of the packages had 8 rolls, so I sampled them all here. They're all PET tapes, which means they're transparent. Here are the samples. Aren't they beautiful? They make such gorgeous borders on cards, journals, gift tags, and so much more. You'll see me use them. Those are the 8 PET tapes. This time around, I chose to get PET tapes and just one washi tape so I can show you how versatile they are. Now, here's the one washi tape I got in this haul. It's made entirely of stickers. Actually, all the tapes I've shown you so far are peel and stick stickers, so they're really easy and efficient to use. Oh, except the narrow border PET tapes that I showed you. PETs are transparent while washi tapes are made of washi paper, which makes them translucent. If you like layering, PET tapes are your friend. And look at these gorgeous florals. These tapes usually have a long strip of unique designs before they start repeating. This one, for example, goes quite a long way, I think about a meter before repeating. So pretty, isn't it? If you're new to PET tapes, I have a few quick tips for you. Peeling the tapes can be a little tricky, so here's what I do. I just touch the corner gently until the backing paper separates from the sticky tape. It comes up pretty easily, actually. If you're having trouble, peel off a bit of the surrounding sticky area first. That makes lifting the sticker so much easier. Of course, this doesn't work for tapes that are solid instead of pre-cut stickers. The great thing about these stickers is that if you stick one down crooked, like I just did, you can carefully lift a corner with a pick tool and reposition it. And since they're see-through, layering is a breeze. For example, I can stick one here and layer it right over another design for a gorgeous effect. By the way, these tapes are from the Washi Tape Shop, and if you're looking for gorgeous washi or PET tapes for your projects, now's a great time to get them since they usually don't offer such a huge discount. They have a huge back to school sale going on right now, and you can use my affiliate link in the video description to get 18% off site-wide. Also, it would help me out a lot if you used my link in case you decide to purchase any of the supplies I'm using today. While they won't cost you anything extra, it will definitely help out my channel. Thank you so much if you decide to support me. Here you can see I've layered PET over PET and PET over washi, and the results are just fabulous. For the first card, I'll use a few of these stickers from the French Courtyard PET tape and create a window card with a scene. Another tip, you can cut out around the sticker to trim off anything you don't need and no one will ever know. The possibilities with these are endless. I'll be using a piece of clear acetate by Simon Says stamp for the window. I've made a 5x7 card base from Nina Solar Crest cardstock because it's heavyweight and exactly what I need for this technique. I'll cut out one strip from the front and replace it with a window using this acetate sheet. Let me get started with the window. There's no exact measurement or rocket science to it. It's pretty straightforward. I'll be using the sticker to create the look of a gate, and this other one will go on the strip to create a 3D scene, like you can see a mansion beyond the gate. But first I want to check the size to make sure it fits. looks good. So I'll cut off 2.5 inches from the card front and save the piece, which I'll place behind the acetate window on the inside of the card. It'll become clear as I work through this. I'll need the strip to be a little wider than the sticker that's going on it, so it looks like I can trim off a bit more, and I'll hold on to that too. Next is the acetate. It obviously needs to be at least as wide as the card opening, but slightly wider so it can be glued down securely. And since this acetate doesn't have a protective sheet, I'll have to be very careful when handling it to avoid getting scratches. Now I'll line it up so it has enough overlap for gluing. I'll mark it lightly with a Sharpie, which I can remove later with rubbing alcohol, so no worries. This side is 8.5 inches, but I want to cut off 1.5 inches from the bottom since the longest side of my card is 7 inches. I'm saving all the offcuts so I can use them later. Before attaching the acetate, I'll give it a quick wipe down with alcohol to remove any fingerprints and glue residue. Next, I'll apply a thin line of liquid glue along one edge of the opening, line up the acetate, and press it down. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side with the narrow strip, making sure it's aligned with the edges of the card. And there we go, the window is done. I'll add cardstock behind the acetate later to hide the glued edges. I see a tiny bit of glue has oozed out onto the acetate, and I'll just scrape it off with my nail. Now I'll position the gate sticker on the acetate to start building the scene. Here you see me smoothing out the air bubbles with the flat edge of an old credit card. I'll continue to decorate the front with various elements until I'm satisfied with the look. These stickers are easily repositioned like I've shown you earlier. It took me a few tries to actually get the arch position just right. A little patience goes a long way, I suppose. I'll work on the inside seam next, and I want to ensure the sticker I select fits perfectly. Before adhering though, I'll do some ink blending on the card strip behind the window. I'll use Tumble Glass and Shabby Shutter's Distress Oxides, and I'll add a touch of Bundle Sage for extra depth to the grass at the bottom. Once I'm happy with the blending, I'll give it a quick zap with my heat tool to ensure it's completely dry before adding the panel to the card base. Now, here's how I'll glue the strip into place so the background scene lines up exactly where I want it. I need to ensure I have it the right way up, and then nestle the card strip behind the acetate strip on the card front and apply glue. Now I can close the card over the glued strip, and voila, I have it in the perfect place. I'll let that sit for a minute so the glue adheres properly. Then I'll finish decorating with the mansion, a tree, and some other elements to complete the scene. I added a happy birthday sentiment from the greetery. I love this set. Now you see the mansion from behind the floral arch. And I also added a swan, some planters in the foreground. I also added a fountain and planters on the inside strip and doodled some black and white birds in the sky for added interest. By the way, I did change up the swan's placement later, and you'll see it in the final card lineup and photos at the end. In the next card, I'll be using the same PET tape for a similar look, but you'll see how I use a completely different technique, so please keep watching. I'm creating a side stepper this time, and I'll start with getting the design elements and sentiment prepped first. I have an idea of the scene I want to create, so I'll start with a few elements and then add more later if I need them. Now I'll create my design elements for the card front by recreating the stickers as faux die cuts. I'm adhering them to some lightweight cardstock, and then I'll fussy cut them out to resemble die cuts. These elements need to stand up on the steps, and adding the cardstock behind them will reinforce them, of course. I'll create a heat embossed sentiment next. I'm using the Big Hug stamp from the Altenew Sunshine Flowers stamp and die set, and I'm going to cut it out with the coordinating die. I'll only need one sentiment, but I thought I might as well make two since there's room for a second one, and I can keep one for my stash. The design elements and sentiment are ready, and now I'll use a pre-made A2 card base in sea glass from Salmon Says Stamp. It's already scored at 4¼ inches, but it won't interfere with our stepper construction. I position the panel at 3½ inches on the shorter side. I'll lift the blade off the surface of the paper and move it down carefully to the 1-inch mark and start cutting from there down to 6½ inches. There's a bit of fraying because it's a thick cardstock, so I'll use a sanding block to smooth it down. I probably need to change my blade. I actually have another detailed video where I show the construction of a side stepper card, and I'll put a link to that in the video description as well. Next is scoring the steps. I'll have the scene on the narrower side of the cut line as the arch fits best on that, and I'll keep the other side for the sentiment, so I'll create the steps on the narrow side. You can use either side of the panel depending on your design. Now, when scoring the steps, I'll stop at the cut line and not score all the way down. I'll start scoring at 1 inch, 2 inches, 3¾ then 4½ and 6½. I'll fold at all the score marks except where it's scored at 4¼ inches. And I'll continue to fold at 4½ and 6½. Now I have my stepper card base ready. The scene will show the mansion through an arch with trees in the front, just like I did in the last card, a planter pot, and I'll also have a swan on a little water piece. And to get a water look, since none of these stickers actually have one with water in it, I'll cut out a portion from the sky of one of the stickers to make it resemble a pond. That's the beauty of these stickers. You can cut when you need and save the rest. I'll trim off this section of the sky so it doesn't stick out from behind the arch. Then glue it in place. For the arch, I'll use foam tape plus drops of liquid glue to give me a few seconds to slide it into position. We need some precision here, which is why the glue really helps. The swan goes on the little lake I created from the sky. Foam tape again to give it some dimension. I'll need to reposition the swan because the tree needs to be on the right. Here's how I completed the card front. The card closes flat, but when displayed upright, it has layered depth. A nice display piece. I framed the heat emboss sentiment with a wreath to add a little interest to it. I'll use this beautiful Sweet Rose PET sticker set to create a custom Slimline card that will easily fit inside a number 10 envelope. To save time, I've already used this old Slimline die from Pinkfresh Studio to cut out the front panel with some speckled cardstock from my stash. I'm not sure if this die is still available, but if it is, I'll add it to my supplies list. I'm using some mirrored cardstock to create a mat for the card panel, so I'll use my pencil to mark out the portion I need. As always, I find this method much easier instead of fiddling with measuring the paper. I'll cut the mat layer and then measure out the card base according to that. I'll use the center circles that got cut when creating the card panel to adhere the stickers on. That will allow a little bit of the mirror cardstock to peek from behind the card panel. To save time, I went ahead and created my card base off camera with Nina Solar Crest cardstock, and it measures 4 inches by 8.5 inches, so I can have a narrow border around the copper mat. Next, I'll assemble the layers, but before I do that, I'll use a Swiffer to wipe down the mirror cardstock layer before adhering the top panel to remove all my fingerprints and grease, etc. I'll use some tape runner to adhere the top layer to the mat. For the sentiment, I'm using one of the die cut centers. The sentiment I'm using is "You Are the Best Ever" from the Fluttering Butterfly set from Pinkfresh Studio. I'll stamp the sentiment off to the left with this metallic rose gold ink from scrapbook.com, which matches the colors on this card perfectly. I'll heat emboss the sentiment with clear embossing powder. Now I'll use the PET stickers to decorate all the circle cutouts. I'll use some foam tape to add dimension to the sentiment label in the center, and I'll use liquid glue on the rest. I'll finish off the card with a few pastel tone dazzling gems from Salmon Says Stamp. The beautiful floral stickers are doing most of the heavy lifting, helped just a little bit by the background panel. What do you think? This was such an easy card, wasn't it? And adding a few stickers to the envelope makes this a complete set, and I can now call this done. If you like making these easy but beautiful cards, then the next one is even easier and is a perfect card for the music lovers in your life. For my next card, I'm using a pre-made card base again from Salmon Says Stamp, and this one is in fog. And I'm also using the Spellbinder's Stitched Edge Oval dies. I've already used the copper mirror cardstock to cut out the large oval, and then I used the smaller stitched oval to cut out the top layer in white. I also used the word die minus the shadow layer to cut out the word thanks with the copper mirror cardstock, as well as a couple more in white so I can stack them together. I'll be using this beautiful pre-cut Rose Sonata PET stickers. These make my crafting life so much easier. I also used the bow from the Spellbinders die set to cut a bow in copper and white for layering. I'll start with gluing the die cuts together. I'll offset the copper slightly over the white layers so it adds a little interest while adding dimension. I'll do the same thing with the bow. I'm using the non-stick backing paper from my Altenew double-sided adhesive sheet so I can protect my glass mat from getting sticky. I recently made a video showing several tips and tricks with these non-stick papers and other hacks, so make sure you watch that video as well. I want to surround the focal point with the PET stickers, so I want to mark off where the oval is going to sit. I'm cutting up the stickers, repositioning them, and reusing the cut pieces where I need to. I don't want too much empty space around the focal point, so I'm using a lot of smaller stickers to fill in those spaces. Time to assemble the focal point. I'll add some foam tape to the base copper layer and then adhere the white layer over it with liquid glue to avoid adding more height. I wanted to keep this simple with just a hint of dimension. I'll add the bow a few music notes, and some warm toned dazzling gems from Salmon Says Stamp. Finally, adding a few stickers to make a coordinating envelope will finish this set as well. It can't get any easier than this. Here's a look at all the cards I've made with my new tape haul. First, we have the sidestepper card, which is great for display. This one was a bit tricky to maneuver the pieces, but the end result is so worth it. Next, we have the Slimline card that we created from scratch. It's beautiful and elegant with the apertures, a hint of shine, and the beautiful PET stickers. I also made this card with that lone washi tape I got this time. It's a simple one-layer card with the border created with washi tape stickers. I demoed this in a YouTube short and I'll put a link in the description below so you can check it out. This card was also created as a YouTube short, and I'll leave the link to this tutorial in the video description. Very simple card again. I just mounted the word love you on a band that I created with lacy borders, and I added some more stickers around the edges and then obviously finished off the envelope with more stickers. Then we have this beautiful window card. I love that you can see the scene through the window. One thing I did change was the swan, like I mentioned earlier. I took it off the acetate and put it on some white cardstock with some foam squares and placed it off to the side so the foam is hidden behind the band, which I think looks much better. And this one, of course, you just watch me create on camera, and it uses the large oval die cut and a few stickers for decoration. Next, I have this one layer card with a beautiful lavender field scene, and I created a collage with the PET stickers of this bicycle that's loaded with lavender blooms, butterflies, a hat, etc. And of course, I added a sticker to the envelope to create a coordinating set. For the next couple of cards, I use the Pinkfresh Studio Fancy rectangle dies for the focal point. For this one, I used the larger of the two frames as well as the negative piece from it and decorated the label with a couple of stickers. On this one, I used the smaller frame and the negative piece from the larger one to create the focal point. I wanted a kind of an irregular shape on this card. That's why everything is off at an angle. It's a little unconventional, right? The black strips is one of the tapes from the set of 8 borders I showed you at the start. I'm actually really loving how this card turned out. Again, I didn't use a card panel, but I just stuck everything directly onto the card base with just a tiny bit of layering in the center. Here's the envelope to go with it, and that's the finished look. For this card, and actually for these 3 cards here, they were all created with the pre-cut Sweet Rosé PET tape. I think this set is just so elegant. I hope you like the cards. Please let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. Honestly, it's hard for me to choose because I love them all. But if I had to pick one, I think this one is my favorite. This card here is also very elegant and pretty, but in terms of technique, this one really stands out to me. I recently created a video that showcases 4 simple ways to use BetterPress plates even if you don't have a BetterPress system. You can check out that video here.